Welcome back to Readaroo Kids. My name is Miss Kristi, and today I have another awesome book to read with you. If you're as excited as I am, be sure to give this video a thumbs up below, and don't forget to click subscribe. That way, every time we post a new story, you and I can read together again right away. All right, today's book is called Balloons Over Broadway by Melissa Sweet. Ooh, I love the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and this is all about the person that started it. Let's get started. Balloons Over Broadway, the true story of the Puppeteer of Macy's Parade. Written and illustrated by Melissa Sweet. This is the man the story is about. His name is Anthony, but he went by Tony Frederick Sarg, and he was born in 1880, and he lived until 1942. This is a very famous quote. From him, it says, "Every little movement has a meaning of its own." From the time he was a little boy, Tony Sarg loved to figure out how to make things move. He once said he became a marionette man when he was only 6 years old. A marionette is a puppet. It looks like this. And when you pull each string, it makes the arms move, or the head move, or the legs move. And so this is the puppeteer, and they can make the marionette make certain movements depending on what string they pull. So that's a marionette, and this is Tony Sarg being the puppeteer. His father had asked him to feed their chickens at 6:30 in the morning every day. Tony had an idea. What if he could feed the chickens without leaving his bed? He rigged up some pulleys and ran rope from the chicken coop door to his bedroom window. That night, he spread chicken feed outside the chicken coop door. The next morning, Tony pulled the rope and the door to the chicken coop opened. The chickens ate their breakfast, Tony stayed snug in his bed, and his dad, so impressed, never made Tony do another chore. Here's his plans. These are what's called engineering plans. This is his idea drawn out. So he says, step 1, spread feed the night before. There's the feed. Step 2, pull the rope, like he did in the morning. Step 3, the door opens. And 4, the chickens come out. That was a pretty clever idea. When Tony grew up, he moved to London, where he discovered that no one was making marionettes for kids anymore. So out of wood, cloth, and strings, Tony began to make puppets. He figured out ways to make his marionettes' movement so lifelike that they performed as if they were real actors. Word soon spread about Tony's amazing marionettes. When Tony moved to New York City, the Tony Sarg marionettes began performing on Broadway. Broadway is a very famous place for theaters. In the heart of New York City, in Herald Square, was the biggest store on earth, R.H. Macy's department store. Macy's had heard about Tony's puppets and asked him to design a puppet parade for the store's holiday windows. So Tony made new puppets based on storybook characters, then attached them to gears and pulleys to make them move. Having a display in a Macy's store window during the holidays is very, very prestigious. That means very important. And so he was very lucky that they asked him to make a window. So here's his plans. Do you know who this is? It's Humpty Dumpty. And he put all these mechanics inside and all these underneath to make all the puppets, or marionettes, move inside the window. And here's his plans for what it'll look like and the colors. Macy's Wonder Town. That's what he called his window. See, there's Humpty Dumpty. Do you recognize any other characters in here? In Macy's Wonder Town windows, Tony's mechanical marionettes danced across the stage as if by magic. All day long, they performed to shoppers jostling for a better look. But Macy's had an even bigger job in store for Tony. Many of the people working at Macy's were immigrants, and as the holidays approached, they missed their own holiday traditions of music and dancing in the streets. Macy's agreed to put on a parade for their employees, and they hired Tony to help. Tony, too, was an immigrant, so he loved the idea of creating a parade based on street carnivals from all over the world. He made costumes and built horse-drawn floats, and Macy's even arranged to bring in bears, elephants, and camels from the Central Park Zoo. There he is, planning. The animals joined hundreds of Macy's employees on Thanksgiving Day, 1924, winding their way from Harlem to Herald Square. It was a dazzling parade. In fact, Macy's first parade was such a success that they decided to have one every year on Thanksgiving Day to celebrate America's own holiday. Look at the floats and the animals, and here's the map of where the parade went. Each year the parade grew, but when Macy's brought in lions and tigers, in addition to the bears, elephants, and camels, the animals roared and growled and frightened the children. Macy's asked Tony to replace the animals. He says, "Tony, can you think of something spectacular?" He says, "Okay." Tony hoped to replace the animals with some kind of puppets, but his marionettes were less than 3 feet tall. He would have to make much larger puppets in order for them to be seen in the parade. And how could he make them strong enough to hold up in bad weather, yet light enough to move up and down the streets? Tony knew of a company in Ohio that made blimps out of rubber, the perfect material for any weather. When he called the company and showed them his sketches, they agreed to make what Tony wanted. Still, how would Tony make his big puppets move? So here's the blimp, right? This is what is made out of rubber. And here he's saying, can you make this? And he gives him a color palette to make it out of. And it looks like he's trying to make a caterpillar. Then Tony had an idea from an Indonesian rod puppet in his toy collection. This is the rod puppet. Wonder what his idea was. On Thanksgiving Day, Tony's creatures, some as high as 16 feet, spilled into the streets, and the crowds cheered wildly. Part puppet, part balloon, the air-filled rubber bags wobbled down the avenues, propped up by wooden sticks. Here they are. Here's all the sticks making the caterpillar move and the black cat. See, the guys in the red hats are holding the sticks. And here they're making an elephant move. So instead of real animals, they had giant balloon animals. But now the sidewalks were so packed with people that only those in the first few rows could really see the parade. Tony realized his puppets would have to be even bigger and higher off the ground. And though the sticks helped to steer the puppets, they were stiff and heavy. Tony wanted his balloons to articulate, to move and gesture more like puppets. But how? With a marionette, the controls are above and the puppet hangs down. This. And he's trying to figure out how to have the string below. He's thinking through it. But what if the controls were below and the puppet could rise up? During the next year, Tony set his new idea into motion. This time, he asked the company in Ohio to make balloons out of rubberized silk, as strong as rubber, but lighter than rubber alone. Most important, Tony ordered the balloons to be filled not just with air, but with helium too. Since helium is lighter than air, it would make the balloons rise. Once the puppets were completed, they were deflated and shipped back to Tony in New York. Tony did not know if everything would go as planned. Here he's thinking, What if the balloons are filled with too much helium? See, they would raise the people off the ground. What if one hits a sharp object? That would be a very big balloon to pop. Will they fit under the elevated train track? Uh-oh, if it doesn't fit, he'd be in a lot of trouble, wouldn't he? It was still dark on Thanksgiving morning when Tony filled the balloons with helium, tethering them down with sandbags. By 1 p.m., the sidewalks were packed with people, ready for the parade. Then, one by one, Tony cut the lines to the sandbags. "Let's have a parade," he says. Ooh, look, a giant elephant floating in the air high above the parade. It says, and the magnificent upside-down marionettes rose up to the skies. See how they're upside down? Because the strings are on the bottom instead of being on the top. Nodding and waving to the crowds below, they sailed past Central Park. They sallied down Broadway. They shimmied and swayed through the canyons of New York City. Look, there's even a dog. It looks like a tiger. High above the crowds, they flounced in the afternoon wind, pulling the rope handlers this way and that. Yet with every heave-ho, the balloons gestured and articulated like wild puppets, and the crowd screamed for more. After the balloons were eased under the L, they ended in front of Macy's at Tony's Wondertown windows. See how they eased under the elevated train track? It was a parade New Yorkers would never forget. And from that day on, every Thanksgiving morning, crowds have lined the sidewalks of New York City to see what new balloons will rise in the skies for Macy's famous parade. Tony Sarg, the puppeteer who loved to figure out how to make things move, had set the stage with a little rigging for a puppet to be anything anyone could imagine it to be. How cool! I love parades, especially the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
I loved reading with you today, and I hope that we can read together again soon. Don't forget that if you liked this book, to give it a thumbs up below and click subscribe. That way every time we post a new story, we'll read together again right away. If you'd like activities to go along with these books, you can always head over to readarookids.com. There we do all kinds of fun things like arts and crafts, science experiments. Sometimes we make recipes together or work on our math skills. There's so much fun, so I hope you'll join me over there. If you'd like to see what we're up to every day, you can follow us on all of our social media. Again, I loved reading with you today, and I hope that we can read together again soon. Until then, Readaroo loves you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.